Ahoy, ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing? Welcome to the BBC Spews Live. It's the, It's the 29th of September. Huzzah. Let me just put my overlay on. There we go. Look at that. I should be working for the BBC at this point. Definitely a broadcasting professional. How are you? Jeff Flake. Oh, he's supporting Kamala Harris. Funny that, isn't it? He's got a very apt name, Mr. Flake. What a knobhead. Who's in the chat? Plenty on Matty No Wankballs in, my African alter ego. Richie Eric, how are you? Joe, now then, hello. Kate's moderating as usual. Thanks for coming in. Louise Owen, hello. Neil Young. Lact CM, Councillor State Rich. D. Doherty. Carl Burton, Peter, and Mega Arsal, everyone, how are you? I'm getting too many in these days to name drop everyone. Do you remember the good old days when there was 50 or 60 of you trendsetters that were the only people who used to tune in? This boot was made for talking. Yeah, got me in a lot of trouble that during my basic training. Went down like a lead balloon, that constantly gobbing off when the corporals and the stripes were beasting us. I remember one of my first RAWS reports I ever got, which is basically like a military version of an appraisal. And it said, recruit Taylor's mouth works much faster than his feet. So that was good, wasn't it? That was good. Right then, so loads of good news to talk about. The best thing I do to start off with, I think, on these streams nowadays is to have a quick look at the stuff I've replied to on Twitter, because you see a fantastic choice of abject stupidity when you look at Twitter these days. The weirdest thing about it all is, there we are, that's lightened better, isn't it? Right, the weirdest thing about it all is that people seem to think that cognitive dissonance only affects other people, when obviously it affects every single human being, including myself. And I've noticed the ones who are the most thoroughly indoctrinated are the ones who are convinced that everybody else is. I'm not saying I'm sure I've been conditioned to some degree. Joe said your last clip was amazing, Mr. Bootneck. Thanks very much. Oh yeah, I've just been learning how to do that. Do shorts. They're kind of difficult to get my head around. I don't know how to move the text. That's kind of annoying. But yeah, I'm going to try and do one of them. I sort of pick a gag out of every video and then put it on a short, because apparently I've heard that's a good way of like growing your audience. But anyway, yeah, thanks for that. So some of the stuff I've seen on here recently. Look at this one here. This is the bird from Seinfeld, and just listen how thick. This is unbelievable. Like, I can't believe she says this to like a broadcaster, and the broadcaster's nodding along like it's a sensible thing to say. And it's just abject stupidity. Hopefully the audio works. Listen to this.
I'm not a politician. I'm not an expert on various issues that we're up against today. But I do feel strongly about who our leaders should be as an American citizen. And I would really like it if the discourse could become kinder and more effective. And I think that will be the case with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in office. And because...
Yeah, so basically she says, fully holds her hands up and says it as well, as if it's not something to be embarrassed about. Listen, I don't know much about the issues, you know what it reminded me of? Do you remember that Harry Enfield joke? I'm sure some of you, because I know... Being as I'm now middle-aged, a lot of my followers are as well. Remember, Harry Enfield was mega popular when I was in like primary school, sort of late 80s, early 90s. And there was a sketch he used to do where it was like women. It was like a piss take of how a woman's brain works. Women know your limits. Here it is. I've just found it on YouTube. Let's have a watch of this, because this to me was Julia Louis-Dreyfus, a typical feminist. Thinks she's doing a good job. She was basically living out the Harry Enfield gag, because she essentially said, I admit I don't know anything. I admit I didn't put any effort in. I haven't done any reading, politics. That's for men. It's for men. I just feel like as long as you're a nicer person, then you're the best one for the job. And that is demonstrably false to anybody who has even a layman's understanding of basic human psychology, isn't it? Because if you're too nice all the time, you get advantage taken of you. Everyone knows that. I think I'm nice. I always do nice things for people because, as Richard Dawkins says, do something selfish, help someone else. And it's because you get all the endorphins and the good feelings. I hold doors open for old ladies and help people carry the shop into the car when I'm at the grocery store here in the States, and do little things all the time for people because I'm very extroverted and I don't feel embarrassed about it. And the main reason I do it is because I feel much better. If I'm like walking out of a shop and there's an old woman carrying 2 bags, I'll just go over and go, all right, love, I'll grab them for you. And I do it because it makes me feel better, not because I'm doing it for them. But I still try and be cynical, i.e., I'll help an old woman carry the shopping, but I wouldn't get in the back of Buffalo Bill's van if I was a 90-pound dwarf and I seen a creepy middle-aged fat bloke struggling to put a mattress in the back of a crusty yellow van with spunk stains on the side of it. Do you see what I'm saying? There's a happy medium about being nice and being caring, being outward. And I think I've found it, you know. I would not get in a crusty spunk van. Anyway, let's watch this because I've just found this. Hang on, share this. This is Julia Louis-Dreyfus. This is all I got out of a little screed about. Yeah, so there you go. That was the first thing that sprang to mind when I saw Julia Louis-Dreyfus talking about politics. Because she basically just said that, didn't she? She was like, yeah, I don't know anything. Like, why would you say that? At least the woman on the comedy video, as usual in this day and age, comedy's more serious than anything actually intending to be serious. That was that. It's the same with like Yes Minister. Fantastic show that I went back and watched as an older bloke, and you really appreciate it. Like the cutting satire that they use is essentially a lot of ways. The Simpsons do it a lot. A lot of ways you can get away with talking about serious things in this day and age when all the lunatics are controlling everybody all the time is to do it through the lens of comedy. And they do it brilliantly on that show. And this is it. Like that clip was funny, but it made both a joke and a point because it made more sense than she did. At least the woman in the comedy video actually stipulated a properly formed opinion about the gold standard. Julie Louis-Dreyfus just outright came out and said, I don't know what I'm talking about. No, I don't know what I'm talking about. I didn't think much about it. I don't read anything about it. I don't like to learn anything about it. So, you know, I'll just vote for the nice people. Well, humans are manipulative, Julia, you dippy mare, right? And they're not always honest. And if you're leading a country and you've got to sit across the table from people like Kim Jong or Vlad or Xi Jinping or any of them, you don't think they might, I don't know, quickly figure out that you're malleable if they're nice to you? And they'll bring you a present and go, oh, look, I brought this for you. It reminds me of a good one from Christopher Hitchens, who said that George Bush, when he turned up for a meeting, Putin had a cross round his neck. And Bush said, oh, I knew as soon as he saw the cross round his neck, he was a good man, really. And Hitchens was like, you don't think maybe one of his KGB types said to him, oh, he's very religious. Yeah, you should try and play on that a little bit. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, of course he did. But smarter people than me and thee really are the movers and shakers in the world. And people like this silly bint and Kamala Harris, who is genuinely stupid, they'll see him coming 20 miles away. Matt, have you seen the Royal Range Band version of Brothers in Arms? If not, please do. Very moving. I haven't seen it, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to type it in YouTube now in another tab, so I don't forget it, because I do like seeing the bandies in action. Hang on. Oh yeah, there we go. That does look good. Brothers in Arms by Dire Straits, arranged by Captain Phil Trudgeon. Fantastic. I'll watch that presently. Thanks for the steer. Yeah, so that's brilliant. That love that. Women, know your limits. So that was good. What else did I reply to this week? Yeah, essentially, my take on that was, whatever she says you should vote for the opposite, right? Because she's just said, I don't use logic or data. I use my feelings, and I'm an ENTP personality type, which means I hate that. So I hear that and I read that and I go, okay, well, I'll support whoever is opposing you because you are a plank. Trump Musk made a great post here. Really, I'm going to read you it because I think it's very, very salient. And tragically, as I've said before, I feel like we're probably too late to do anything about it. I've told you for the last couple of years, I don't think... Yeah, my missus hates my keyboard. It's like a Gucci mechanical keyboard. And they're meant to help you type faster. I don't think they do, to be honest. But they are stupidly noisy, so if she's trying to sleep across the hallway, she can still hear it. It pisses her off. Anyway, I think we're in the shit. As I said to you, they tried to make it illegal for Trump to deny the 2020 election, which is, again, another evidence point in Trump's favour in my eyes, because every American presidential election has been bitterly contested for decades, and they always deny the result. Again, people who listen and pay attention know all of this stuff without me having to tell them. But unfortunately, most people don't pay any attention. So I guess I've got to repeat myself here. If you pay attention, you'll be well aware that every single American election in my lifetime has been hotly contested. When Bush won, Al Gore didn't concede it. And Michael Moore made a film all about it. And for months and years afterwards, they were chuntering about it, saying they cheated, George Bush was illegitimate, his cousin or whatever it is was lying about the polls in Texas, and then they released the results early, and then everybody else just fell in line and said, okay, we don't want to be accused of being dishonest, so blah, 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 blah. It was all lies, and he definitely didn't win the election, right? So that happened. And then Obama won. And because they did that, well, the Republicans did the exact same thing. Because it's human nature. It's human nature to do the exact same thing as your enemies do. Because, it annoys them. So when they spent years saying Bush didn't really win the election, when Obama won the election, they said, no, he didn't. No, Obama shouldn't be the president. No, he definitely can't be the president. Yeah, he's illegitimate. He's a Kenyan. All that type of stuff, right? So there's 12 years done. And then you had Trump Clinton, and she goes on TV and says loudly and proudly, he knows that he's illegitimate. He knows that he's illegitimate. You must have all seen that one. Let me just have a quick... I'll do that. Just because people are stupid and they think you lie to them. But I bet I can just type in Hillary Clinton illegitimate and it'll pop straight up. Yeah, there you go. CBS Sunday Morning. So it's not like I'm picking a poor source. Hillary Clinton. Trump knows he's an illegitimate president. Where's the
66 million letters of recommendation and losing to a corrupt human tornado. And so I know that he knows that this wasn't on the level. I don't know that we'll ever know everything that happened, but...
There you go. There you go. I know that he knows that this wasn't on the level. He knows that he's an illegitimate president. So I've just done that for you. Look how much effort that took. I did it on the fly. I literally just thought of saying it 5 minutes ago, typed for 6 seconds, and then popped the clip up. That took me no effort at all. And yet you'll talk to a Democrat or an independent lefty knobhead and say to them, why? And I'm like, unfortunately, I don't think I had a channel that early, but I was saying it regularly to all my family and friends, especially out here, the ones that vote Democrat. I was telling them this was going to happen in 2018. I was like, listen, you can't spend 4 years telling them that the president cheated and lied and rigged and wasn't legitimate, and say things like he knows that he's illegitimate and he knows it wasn't on the level, and then expect them in 2020 to just go, oh yeah, you definitely won. You can't even have a go at them, can you? I won't even go as far as the sort of moderate Republicans who say, well, you know, Trump was out of order for not accepting the election. Why was he? Why was he? When she's on video, coming out months after the election, years in fact, because she's done more than one interview, and just saying, definitely cheated, definitely cheated, definitely illegitimate, he knows he's illegitimate, he knows he's illegitimate. She said it again and again and again and again, and all the Democrats said it. And then it gets to 2020 and Trump goes, oh yeah, he's an illegitimate president. And they go, fuck, you can't say that. You can't say that. And this is the point I'm getting at. Even if you don't like the Orange Oracle, God bless him. Even if you don't like the Orange Oracle, and joking aside, I don't particularly like him. I've told you this before. Me, I think the leader should be like a super genius. I think the leader of the free world should be someone like Jacob Rees-Mogg, like a proper posh, super well-educated, clever bastard. Preferably more right-wing than Jacob Rees-Mogg. But what I'm getting at is clever, super eloquent, knows everything. They pull out obscure laws and numbers and he knows the answer to it. I want people like that. I don't particularly like Donald Trump, but I like him 500 times better than the alternative because of the rank hypocrisy of these people. They said this for so long, and then they act surprised when Trump does it. For 4 years, they denied he was the president, and then they expect him in 2020 and all his followers to just go, Bad's definitely the president. It's laughable. And then the cherry on top of the hypocrisy sundae is trying to pass laws to make it illegal to say that you don't think Biden's the legitimate president. Do you see what I'm saying? So surely, even if you're a lefty, you watch that video, and I'm assuming this is where the millions of normal liberal Democrat voters have gone to hold the nose and vote for Trump. Because if you see that for 4 years, and then you see them saying, oh, we have to lock Trump up and criminally prosecute him for denying the election, even though they did that and said that, and they did it in 2016, and they did it with Obama, and they did it with Bush. So what's the problem? They always do it. They did it with Bush, did it with Obama, they did it with Trump. Why are they not allowed to do it? Why aren't they allowed to do it with Biden? Why? Can anyone, left-wingers in the chat, can anyone give me a good example, like a good reason why that it was okay to deny the last 6 elections, but you're not allowed in 2020? Anyone? Yeah? No? Didn't think so. So it's bollocks, isn't it? So if for no other reason, support him for that. To wipe the noses in it. People like this, the staggering hypocrisy. Hillary's allowed to deny the election for 4 years, but when Trump does it, lock him up and throw away the key. It's just ludicrous. It's mind-melting hypocrisy. On to Musk's statement, which is true, but unfortunately, I feel like it's too little too late. I feel like the ship's already sailed, to be honest. I'm very cynical, as you know. Can I make this a bit smaller? Yeah, there we go, look. It says, very few Americans realise that if Trump is not elected, this will be the last election. Far from being a threat to democracy, he is the only way to save it. Let me explain. If even 1 in 20 illegals become citizens per year, something that the Democrats are expediting as fast as humanly possible, that would be about 2 million legal voters in 4 years. The voting margin in the swing states is often less than 20,000 people. That means if the Democratic Party succeeds, there will be no more swing states at all. Moreover, the Biden-Harris administration has been flying asylum seekers who are fast-tracked to citizenship directly into swing states, so they're settling them on purpose in places like Pennsylvania, Ohio, Wisconsin, and Arizona. It's a surefire way to win every election. America then becomes a one-party state and democracy is over. The only elections will be the Democratic primaries, which is just like the EU, right? You can choose from this tiny selection of people that we let you choose from. Well, that's not an election, is it? That's not free and fair elections. This happened in California many, many years ago. Yeah, California used to be a swing state. Now it's solidly blue because they did this and moved in millions and millions of voters from other countries, voters who they financially incentivize to say, here, we'll give you loads of money and we're paying for your house, right? We're paying for your rent and we're paying your bills. So aren't you going to vote for us? I mean, imagine what might happen to your rent and your bills. Imagine what might happen to them if you vote for the other guy. So that's bribery, it's buying votes. It's obvious to anybody with a hole in their arse. And then it said the only thing holding California back from extreme socialism and suffocating government policies is that people can leave California and still remain in America. Once the whole country is controlled by one party, there will be no escape. And that, ladies and gentlemen, that's the tweet, to quote the irritating shit libs on the left. Joe, thanks for the tenner. Cheers. You spoiled me, Joe. Didn't give me a question. Just put some news you want me to cover in the chat and I will dutifully cover it for you, Joe. So that is just logical. There's no other way to talk about it. And this is the big problem. As I said to you, I think a lot about these things. I'm not stupid. I put a lot of effort in. I can be talked into anything if it's logical. I'm not an ideologue. I'm a centrist in all things. Everyone knows this who's watched this channel for a few years. I'll always argue with people like that are extremely right-wing because I don't agree with them. It has to make logical sense. If you go too far to the left or too far to the right, you enter an echo chamber and you don't think for yourself. So when I'm thinking for myself about these things, I sit there and think, try and be as grey as possible. Try not to get emotional about it. Is this a reasonable thing to say? And the thing that really, so what I'm getting at is, if you could convince me that turning the whole country blue would be good in the long term, you could get me on board with it. I talked about this before. You know, this is controversial. After reading, I read The Camp of the Saints, and I thought it was far too, it was extremist. It was extremely dire sort of doomsaying. And I thought to myself, if you could guarantee world peace, wouldn't it be better if the whole world was the same religion? So being a sort of chippy atheist when I was a young man, and then like more agnostic with a soft spot for my childhood and therefore some elements of the Church of England, I thought to myself, even though I'm not a believer, if you could make the whole world one religion, wouldn't it be worth doing? And I'm sure aggressive, very chippy atheists like Richard Dawkins would hate the idea, but you have to think about it logically, even though on principle, and I reflexly disagree with the idea, I had to sit and think about it a lot. Because I'm like, I don't want to discount something just because I think with my emotions or my heart that something sounds like a good idea. So I really sort of struggled with it. And I thought, there's elements of it that would make sense where it'd make the world a more peaceful place and people would be happier if everyone shared the same religion. And then I thought about that with the religion of many, many pieces, right? Alan's lads. And I thought, if you could talk me into it, there'd be world peace if we let Alan's lads take over. Maybe you could talk me into it. But you can't, because as soon as you start reading beyond the lines, you realise it's all endless infighting. Catholic and Protestant and Baptists and evangelicals, and then you've got Sunni and Shia and Zoroastrians and all this other stuff. It's like, it sounds like it could possibly work, but when you start thinking about it, it wouldn't work. So you go, well, doesn't make any sense, does it? And that is why this is such a prescient post, because ultimately you need adversarial parliaments, you need adversarial systems in place for everything that is organised well. And you know this to be true, because if every single one of you agreed on everything all the time, You wouldn't really dig into anything. Part of my job professionally is to be the naysayer, to do the risk assessments and the boring stuff like that. So when someone says, oh, we can just do this, let's just launch 6 times this month, it's my job to say, yeah, is that feasible though? Shouldn't we pump the brakes? Shouldn't we do a rigorous risk assessment and look at everything that could possibly go wrong? Because people like Elon might just be like, they're go-getters, aren't they? He'd just go, oh, no, well, let's just do it. Fuck it. Let's just do it. And you have to be the pain up the arse and say, no, you have to have an argument with yourself. So America will totally go down the toilet if this happens. Basically, I mean, I'll tell you a good point Peter Hitchens made. Peter Hitchens, when he was getting interviewed by Owen Jones, he said, essentially, Parliament should be people like me and people like Owen Jones arguing all the time. And I was like, that is spot on that. He just said that on a whim in a pub. And that was the most prescient thing I've heard Peter Hitchens say for a long time, because that's exactly right. And look what's happened to the UK since it turned into a uniparty. Look what's happened to the UK. The UK Parliament should be Peter Hitchens and Owen Jones having a massive argument for an hour about the big issue of the day, and then they get into the nooks and crannies of every side of the argument on the left and on the right, and then they come to an accord, and you know that they've hashed it out rigorously. But what we've got with this uniparty, where they're all just in agreement on all the time, think about it. You know what I'm telling you is right. Because when they said, right, here's the pandemic coming along, we have to have a lockdown, everyone went, yeah, good idea. Nobody went, should we though? Should we though? So I'm saying you've got to be a naysayer. It should have been a hardcore lockdown fanatic and a hardcore libertarian. You will not lock anyone down. Over my dead body will you lock us down? And they have a massive argument about it for hours. And then you could have got Lord Sumption in with his risk assessment and say, hang on, we planned for this for 10 years. We knew it was coming. Lockdown was never part of the plan. But you didn't. You didn't. You got Lib Dem, Labour, SNP, Tory, all of them. Yeah, do that. Do that. And what did it do? And who was right? Who was right? Well, Peter Hitchens was right. I was just parroting him 3 years ago because I read his column every Sunday. We were right. We were right. Those of us that said it's going to cause more harm than good, it's not a zero-sum game, you might save some lives by locking some people in, maybe, but then you're going to cost other people their lives. And then we saw, now we know the figures, and now we see the statistics, we see what the economic downturn's done to people's lives and quality of life, the misery that it's caused, the immiseration and the suffering. We've seen the cancer numbers jump up, we've seen the skin cancer, the heart disease, the strokes, the addiction, the battered wives, the alcoholism, the bankruptcy, the depression, the suicide, everything. Through the roof, which is what we said 3 years ago. Yeah, you can do it, but it's not a zero-sum game. If you do it, there's going to be ramifications. There's going to be ripples in the pond. You throw the lockdown pebble in. And I'll stand by my record. They're all there. I think I very first started making videos probably the first month of the lockdown or something, wasn't it? And I was raged about it because I was sick of walking up them bloody stairs. And I've been proved right. Every aspect of it. Because they didn't have the argument. That's the problem. And this is why this post by Musk is so prescient. Because that's what happens. If the whole of America, the leadership class, agrees on everything all of the time, you'll never get any good outcomes. Well, all right, no, that's wrong. Occasionally you'll get a good outcome. If it's a problem that's staring you in the face, you'll get a good outcome because everyone will agree on it. But if it's a thorny problem, the ones that you really need to think about, the ones that you really need to get into the weeds on, never going to happen because all the midwits are in agreement. And like I said to you, it reminds me of the bell curve, you know what I mean? Where you've got the hyper genius on one end, and then you've got the absolute Swiss cheese brain Neanderthal on the other end. And that's what happens. Because they're in agreement. I'll try and find a good meme about it. Yeah, there's a good one. That's a good one, look. That sums up what the mess we're in. The T-Rex didn't have feathers. The Tyrannosaurus didn't have feathers. Other theropods were found to have them, so they definitely had them. That is the Western world now, because Kamala Harris and Joe Biden sum that up to a T. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are not genuinely like full-blown mentally handicapped herd T-Rex didn't have feathers. They're like the very definition of the midwit who's convinced they're a genius. And we haven't got geniuses running the show. We've got very, very midwit. And this is the real problem with them. Nothing wrong with being a midwit. I'm a midwit. I'm pretty sure if I did an IQ test, I don't think I'd be high IQ. Probably middle, normal. But the difference is when you're not a midwit politician, you know what you don't know. So you're very skeptical about everything. You go, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Midwits like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Has there ever been a better example than Angela Rayner? Or Keir Starmer? Or David Lammy? Or no, not. Diane Abbott is mentally handicapped. But David Lammy, Keir Starmer, Angela Rayner, that is them. That is them. They're the ones in the middle going, actually, and they're just wrong all the time. So this is why we're knackered. Angela Rayner is, no, she's not mentally handicapped, is she, Rayner? She's that. She's probably like, 90. You know what I mean? She'll be like a 90. But she never has doubt. And that's why we're totally knackered. Because this is what we're doing. And Biden and Harris are exactly the same. Just the worst possible choice. Abacus. Yeah, Abacus. Abacus is mentally ill. I firmly believe that. She is as thick as dehydrated whale spunk. Abacus. I've never seen anything like it, to be honest. It astounds me that she got into politics. Kemi Badenoch's talking some sense these days as well, isn't she? Let's have a look at something Kemi said about it. Hang on, where's that gone? Let me present that again. There it is. Kemi Badenoch, maternity pay's gone too far. Well, considering nobody does any work in Europe, I think we're probably about right, isn't she? Let's have a look. Kemi Badenoch said maternity pay has gone too far and the government needs to interfere less in people's lives. No shit, Sherlock. She said it's support mothers for 39 weeks after having a baby is a function of tax and excessive. Well, I agree. Basically, I keep saying, I feel like if we go back to the politics of 1988, we won't go far wrong. And I don't know off the top of my head exactly how long maternity pay was in 1988, but I bet you it wasn't 39 weeks. They really don't want the working class to breed. Yeah, well, maybe that's it. The thing is, though, people aren't having kids because of lack of maternity pay, are they? I mean, obviously they aren't, because they've had long maternity pay rules in the UK for years. And no one's having kids. So that is definitely not what's going on, is it? Definitely not. Saying that the reason we wouldn't be having a lot of kids, Carl, is because they don't get enough maternity pay is like them saying it's Cookie Monster's fault we're all fat. Remember when they stopped Cookie Monster's not allowed to do it? Cookie Monster's got to eat carrots now. They don't eat cookies, have carrots, you wankers. No, that's not why we're fat, is it? Because when Cookie Monster was telling everyone to eat cookies all the time, in 1986, everyone was skinny. So that's definitely not the reason. The fact is, we need to do more work, and the UK, certainly compared to the United States, is just not doing anything. France and Spain are even worse. I don't understand how France and Spain haven't collapsed altogether. Because nobody does any work. Derek, cheer my Mrs. Leanne up and say hello, Boot. Crikey, you're almost like a Z-list celebrities when you get £2 for saying hello. Leanne, hello, I hope you're well. Clearly you've got impeccable taste in men. Because he subscribes to the Angry Bootneck. He's probably got a cock like a baby's arm grasping a tangerine. And a high IQ. Definitely higher than the Home Secretary. So you've got to keep her there, Leanne. Lucky girl. So yeah, that's mad. I don't on the face of it, I don't disagree. But at the end of the day, I think that this is really a periphery issue. And what they should be doing is Orban-style incentives to shag your missus. Basically, Viktor Orban's gone as far as you can go without coming into your bedroom and guiding it in. Viktor Orban's gone so far to propagate the species of the natives in Hungary that it's like he creeps into your bedroom personally and he sort of slaps your ball sack and then sort of helps navigate you in. Because and I agree with that. It should be like massive tax breaks, payments for a mortgage, whatever, like to the natives rather than importing people. And the thing is, it makes sense to spend the money because I don't know if any of you lot's seen the recent statistics about it. But, I mean, again, we've known this. We've known this for years because we're not raving lunatics. They cost you money. I've been making this point for years and years. They cost you money. If you just earn like 30 grand a year, you're basically about breaking even. If you're on like a low paid job, and we need to educate you and house you and educate your kids, you're a net drain on resources. And the ONS released statistics last week and said if a poor immigrant without like a very high education, like without a master's degree, moves to the UK, by the time they're 80, if they live to be 80, they've cost the taxpayers like £500,000 each. Like they're fully making us bankrupt. And I've made this point loads of times to you lot, like they definitely cost us money. Whenever some idiot goes, oh yeah, the immigrants, it's them keeping the economy going, it's just wrong. It's wrong according to the ONS. It's wrong according to anybody who's got a fully functioning brain and the ability to do maths. And it's wrong on a gut level. You just know it's wrong. Because we don't import nuclear physicists. No one's complaining about nuclear physicists and brain surgeons. It's the fact that all these blokes moving over have barely got a high school education. So they're costing us billions and billions and billions. Okay, they say they want immigrants to do work and make it more difficult for people who work to breed. Yeah, okay, well, that's not wrong. Yeah, totally. And as I said, this is why I keep telling all the wankers. The lunatics that are doing this know for a fact that they're costing us money. So it does suggest that the conspiracy theorists are onto something, doesn't it? Because they make out as if they're all about money. But they're all costing us £500,000. So it can't be all about money. It's got to be some evil globalist scheme, hasn't it? It's got to be. Richie Davies, UK government has gone so off remit, it's worrying. Definitely. Member for 8 months. Crikey. I don't even know. How long have I had my channel monetized for? I think it's nearly a year now. You know what's annoying? I do feel like if I had have actually not been such a stubborn prick for as long as I have been, my channel would be like 10 times the size because essentially I didn't monetize out of raw stubbornness for like 3 and a bit years or whatever it was. And I think I've monetized it about 10 or 11 months ago. And in that time, I've quadrupled my amount of subscribers. So as you might expect, the evil corporation only looks after you if you're letting them take their percentage. They're like agents. But it does make me wonder how much bigger my channel would be if I'd took Susan's shilling 3 years ago. but they wash your car or trim your beard. Yeah, well, and again, and this is what I've said about that. When they say they're not taking our jobs, and it's one of the rare things I disagree with South Park on, Trey and Matt, but they are liberals, aren't they, as well? They're just old-fashioned liberals, so they slag off both kinds. When they did the old taking their jabs thing, taking their jabs, they are though, and any working class person knows it, they are. Because they're not taking their jabs off BBC journalists and Guardian readers and scientists and middle class arseholes. They're not taking people's jobs where you need a master's degree or a PhD to get the job. But they're taking our jobs. Definitely. Me and my mate Moz both left the military with only GCSEs. They were taking our jobs. And we know that because when we start doing our jobs, half the people around you are foreign. Excuse me. Aren't they? So they are. They are taking our jabs. Well, the first job I ever got when I left the military was driving a truck for the council, and half of them were Polish. So they are. They are. Working class people, they are taking your jabs. Obviously, they're not taking Owen Jones's job. And obviously, they're not taking middle class arseholes' jobs. But they are taking our jabs. So it's not really a... When they laugh and go, hey, taking your jab, I'm like, yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. Do you know how I know they are? Oh, how's that then? Tell me. Because when I got my job, 8 other people in my crew were Poles or Ukrainians or Hungarians or... If it's not too hard of a job, Somalian, although nah, they just don't do any work, do they? Eastern Europeans and Asians work. So, yeah, that's how we know they're taking our jobs, because we see them and we work alongside them. Yeah, when I've left, when you'll be like, oh yeah, taking their jobs, and then you'll be talking like a squaddy, and you'll be like, yeah, what was your first job when you left the army? Oh, yeah, I was working in the Kit Kat factory in York. Oh, really? And who did you work with? Let's see, there was Vladimir, Pablo, one tanker. They start reeling off the names. So again, how are you sitting there arguing with me when you're demonstrably wrong? When you're demonstrably wrong. Get a job labouring on a building site, and in your canteen, and when you have a cup of tea, walk around the canteen and ask all the people in there where they're from. And about 8 of them won't have been born in the UK. So they go, taking their jabs. Well, there's the proof. If I'm at work and the bloke on my left's from Poland and the bloke on my right is from the fucking Czech Republic, well, they are, aren't they? It's not rocket science. Anyway, that's 45 minutes, ladies and gents. I'm nearly up to 800. I'm getting some good numbers these days. See, all I had to do was tongue punched Susan's shitbox for 11 months. Price worth paying. Price worth paying. Yeah, it's got a bit messier since she died. Anyway, I will call it there before things go completely downhill. I'm going to rest my voice box for 14 minutes and then I'm going to go see Ragnar. So yeah, I think he's... Send me a link on the WhatsApp that's on my computer. There you go. I sent you some G's. Send me a link to that. You always send me the bloody wrong one. And yeah, I'll see you in 15 minutes. All right? Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you all tomorrow. Toodle pip. Cheers.